Although no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending. A very good evening to you all, and welcome to the August edition of our membership forum on effective membership campaign. Today, we have yet another TN panelist with us. As you may already know, they are none other than distinguished Toastmaster Mafa, Public Relations Manager of District 82, and Toastmaster Hisham, Club Extension and Retention Chair, Division C and D of District 2. Distinguished Toastmaster Mikdal would join us as a panelist during the Q&A session towards the latter part of our forum today. So, without further ado, let's get on with our membership forum August edition. Acquiring the right talent is important in order for us to ensure the growth of any organization. And this same logic applies to us in Toastmasters. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So let me first invite Toastmaster Hisham to speak a little this aspect. Toastmaster Hisham, now tell me, why is it so important for Toastmaster clubs to attract new members, and what are the membership building programs that are available for our Toastmasters?
Thank you, Hashini. I think what needs to be said over here is we need to reel our memories back to 1924 when Dr. Ralph C. Smedley began his mission of helping others become more effective communicators and leaders. I believe today this mission lives true to its word as more and more members are joining Toastmasters in friendly and supportive clubs throughout the world. I believe also that a Toastmasters club with active members provide ample opportunities for people to speak as well as lead. Now, while saying this, more members in a club and the club is able to gain an absolute increased enthusiasm at club meetings, absolute membership diversity, which enriches all aspects of the club program, and greater depth of leadership and collaboration opportunities as well. Now, while saying this, the need for better communication and leadership is everywhere. Without a doubt, I mean, when we step out, this is what we are seeing for better communicators and leaders. And Toastmaster clubs today must be ready to cater to this need of the current day and age. Now, while saying this, this all sounds fancy, this sounds all nice and perfect. However, in any organization, and even in Toastmasters, clubs see a constant churn in their membership. We see that priorities of members change, their roles and responsibilities are affecting their availability. And as club leaders, all of us, we need to expect a few members to leave and have a proper plan to ensure new members join into a club as well. Now, Toastmasters International expects clubs to lose at least 8 members. However, for a club to be safe, Toastmasters International encourages us to at least add 15 new members throughout an entire tenure. Now, this is reflected very rightly in the 3 membership ribbons. So let me just quickly touch base on the 3 membership building programs that we have. Number 1, the program that is running right now from August 1st to September 30th is the Smedley Award. Now, it's named in honor of the founder Ralph Smedley, and this is for the clubs, their first membership building program in the year. Now, it can be promoted honoring the founder of Toastmasters International. Such a wonderful opportunity to start off the year right by honoring the founder. Now, the second membership building program is where you have from February 1st to March 31st, which is the Talk Up Toastmasters. Now, Toastmasters love to connect. We all love to connect. So take advantage of it. The chance to encourage your members to invite guests to an absolutely special meeting where prospective members can learn and develop themselves about Toastmasters provides many benefits for everyone. The third program that is available is Beat the Clock, which is in the last segment of the tenure, which is from May 1st to June 30th. Now, we all know Toastmasters has taught us to run meetings on time, finish speeches on time, and even to reach our membership goals on time. So while saying that, and in that spirit, this award is a great motivator to finish the year on top notch, on schedule, on time, with record numbers. So it's very easy. It's not a very complicated system. All you need to do is to add 5 new dual or reinstated members during this period, and accomplishing this goal will qualify you to receive a wonderful ribbon which you can proudly display on your club's banner. Also, Toastmasters International, for qualifying clubs, grants a special discount of 10% when you do your next order. So, Hashini, that is why I feel clubs need to attract new members and to be constantly at it while they are gaining new members from the public itself.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Hisham. I think that was a very comprehensive answer to the question I asked. I was expecting a very basic answer like what you said at the beginning, but you went on to explain the above in detail and why it's so important stuff. So thank you very much for that very comprehensive answer. Now, Simon Sinek, in one of his books, Start with Why, he talks about two ways to influence human behavior. He says that you can either manipulate human behavior or you can inspire. Now, this question goes to a distinguished Toastmaster Mafaz. Distinguished Toastmaster Mafaz, I would like you to take a few minutes and discuss what options are available for clubs to showcase the power of Toastmasters to potential members. Because even at the last membership forum, we spoke a lot on potential members. So I would like you to emphasize on this aspect in terms of conducting effective membership campaign. DTM Mafaz, over to you.
Thanks, Hashini. So first of all, thank you for that wonderful question. And Simon Sinek is personally one of my favorite authors and leaders, thought leaders. So it's a great privilege to start answering with one of his question with a quote of his in it. So in my opinion, there are a few ways that clubs can showcase the power of Toastmasters. And this is how we really win our guests and our members to stay with our clubs. So if we start off the way I see it, there are three essential ways that clubs can showcase the power of their Toastmasters to potential members. So these are basically club meetings, speechcraft, and keynotes and educational speech sessions. So starting off, let me quickly touch on each of these very briefly and give an idea of what I think about them. So club meetings are probably the most effective way to win guests to your club because it gives them a hands-on view of how the club is and how the Toastmasters program works. And this really also gives them an opportunity to understand the culture as well as the community that is inside the club. So we guests always want to join a club where they believe that they can see the most potential growth in themselves and the club that can help them develop their leadership and speaking skills. So whenever we have a meeting and we have a proper quality meeting where there is well-prepared speeches, effective, constructive evaluations, and the meeting is run really professionally, this helps to create a very positive image about the club in the minds of the guests. And that really helps them appreciate why they should become a part of Toastmasters and why they should join any particular club. The second option that's available is the Speechcraft programs. Now, Speechcraft is also a really good way to showcase members the power of Toastmasters is because it gives them a hands-on experience on how to run or how Toastmasters works and how it can benefit them. Because I personally have run several Speechcraft sessions and I have seen from the first week to the 10th week how far the members develop as speakers and how their confidence levels increase. Now, as that easily helps us to go and make the argument to them saying, if you were able to achieve this in 10 weeks, imagine what you can do year after year if you are with this movement. So this is another great way to bring members into Toastmasters and tell them this is a way that you can continue the growth that you have started in Speechcraft. And the final way that we can showcase this power of Toastmasters is to organize special events or special keynote speaking engagements. So these can be one-off events that the club organizes where they bring in a special keynote speaker and they invite the public or members of a corporate to join that event and we witness the learnings of Toastmasters. Again, this event doesn't need to be a Toastmasters meeting. It can just be a dedicated event talking only on this particular topic that has been selected. But within that, you can have a small session where you talk about what Toastmasters is and what this club is all about. Again, the idea here is it gives the person or the guest an opportunity to understand how Toastmasters can benefit a person, what the core value of Toastmaster is, which is the core delivery of Toastmasters, which is building your confidence, building your leadership, and building your communication skills. For me, all three of these options really materialize when they are used in combination throughout the year, and clubs are able to showcase the power of Toastmasters and showcase the power of their members and the program to potential guests and bring them in. In summary, club meetings, speech crafts, and keynotes and educational events are three ways that clubs can use to communicate and market their potential of Toastmasters.
Distinguished Toastmasters, thank you very much for those three invaluable points. So he emphasized well on why club meetings, speechcraft programs, and keynotes or educational sessions are important and how they help to showcase to potential members the power of Toastmasters. And I totally agree with you. Now, having said that, finding and of course keeping members is what this forum is all about. Now, one of the main initiatives in this regard, as we all might already know, are membership campaigns. I would like Toastmaster Hisham to explain to us what a membership campaign really is.
Thank you, Hashini. When you posed this question to me, for me, what reeled back into my memory was a lot of the vice president memberships who may be in our audience today must be throwing the same question in their mind and saying, yes, that is a question we have all asked ourselves when we have held that EXCO position. What is a membership campaign? Are we doing it right? So just to highlight for everyone, because I think there's misconceptions, there's misunderstandings as to what a membership campaign is all about. So let me put it in very plain and simple words, right? So to offset member attrition, that is the leaving of members from a club, every club needs to have a strategic plan to have a constant influx of new members, and they should regularly devote their time and effort towards promoting membership growth. Now, as mentioned before, a Toastmasters club is most beneficial when its member strength is operating at its charter strength. So now what is this charter strength? This is talking of when a club has 20 or more active members taking part in the club. That is absolutely critical for the success of a club. So now while saying that, having a good strategic plan to attract more members is absolutely key to a successful membership campaign. And this goes without saying that you have a foolproof strategic plan, you have a foolproof membership campaign. Now, however, in most instances, traditional membership campaigns do not work anymore, sadly. Now, I'm sure a lot of people must be questioning themselves as to what am I talking about, a traditional membership campaign. Now, this is where closer up to a membership drive or membership time that we need to attract new members, this is where a club posts a single flyer on their social media channels, get their members and friends to share it, and they get their members and they call it a success. It may still work on and off, but this concept is soon coming to an end. Why do I say this? Because your larger target audience now is millennials. Without a doubt, there are very much older people who join Toastmasters as well, but still, let's not deny the fact that a larger part of the audience is millennials, and millennials are attracted by different methods of marketing. You approach them with one method, I'm sorry, but you are not going to have them coming through. So promotions can take many forms, including advertising, public relations, etc., within your club or outside. For instance, just let me give you one quick example. A corporate club might benefit more from exposure in the company magazine or a bulletin board than being advertised on a newspaper, because it is all within the institution itself. It also should be noted at times one specific method may not work. This is why I said you need to work around different methods to attract more members. And a hybrid model is what is most needed. To attract new members will have to be adopted. Key is to carefully keep track of which method is working for your club. That is very critical to know which of your strategies that you've adopted of your membership campaign is working for your club and work around it to attract more new members throughout the tenure. Because like I said, sometimes one system may work, but at another period of time, that system may not work. So you need to keep looking at different methodologies that can be adopted. So I'm sure questions are going to be rolling in as to what are these strategies. So we will share this later on in this forum. Harshini, back to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hisham. From what you explained, what really caught my attention was that one statement you made saying a membership campaign is not merely posting a single flyer. And that's, I think, that might be new knowledge to some of those who have joined today, because that really struck me hard, because sometimes we tend to focus on posting flyers entirely. Like you said, traditional membership campaigns don't work anymore. So it's important to have a good plan and make sure that it really suits your club. So thank you very much for sharing the piece of information with us, Toastmaster Hisham. Now, my next question would go to distinguished Toastmaster Mafaz. Toastmaster Mafaz, what is the biggest challenge for clubs when it comes to membership growth campaigns? Now, since you're public relations manager at District 82, I think this would be more keen, and I think you would have a lot of knowledge to share in terms of this and experience.
Thank you, Hashini. To be honest, I would say that our biggest challenge as clubs is nothing to do with what we put out or what we market as a club. I think the biggest challenge that we have is our mindset. Now, not to give membership campaigns a bad reputation, but if I was to compare a membership campaign to the business world, I would say it is the equivalent of sales and marketing, right? And even in business, there are plenty of people who will say marketing or sales is not my cup of tea. But all successful business leaders know that everybody in the business is into sales. Whether you're an accountant, whether you're the janitor, you are in sales for the business. Now, the challenge, what I have seen a lot of in the corporate world as well as in Toastmasters, is we feel very uncomfortable to go and be aggressive and ask people to join the membership, pay the money, give us the funds, join the club. We feel very awkward and uncomfortable to do that. And we see it as a very cheap or very unsavory experience. Now, I come from a sales and marketing background, and when it comes to sales and marketing, it's all about your mindset. If, as an EXCO and a club, we are only looking at members as dollar signs, we see them all as points. We want to just go get the point. We want to get the 8 members to get the 2 DCB points, or we want to get the 15 members to get the 3 ribbons, or we want to get some other points so that we win some dynamic duo or some award. Then this whole experience becomes very unpleasant, because we are no longer doing it in the right spirit. And what happens then is we don't go after the hard customers, right? We go after the easy ones, the guys who you can quickly go convince, bring them on board, because we know that we can get the money. But those are sometimes not the right kind of member for your club or for our movement. So we should always think of it as, how do you bring, we should think about ourselves, what we do as membership growth as a service that we're offering. That we go after the guests and we say, we believe this program can help benefit them. That is why we are in it, because we see the benefit ourselves. So when we change our mind and we say, we want to go and bring people in, we want to help them, we want to make this our personal mission, it stops becoming that unsavory experience. We give it a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of our energy goes to help members come into the movement. So for me, I think I was actually reading an article that was published in the most recent Toastmasters magazine. and it says we need to ask members to join. We have to ask a guest to come back for a meeting. We have to ask them to join, because just that asking is what will make them go from a guest to a member. And they just need that catalyst. You need to be the catalyst that converts them. So for me, the biggest challenge, whether it's for any club, is that mindset. The minute you start thinking of membership not as points or dollars, but as us helping friends, us helping each other, your entire motivation, your entire aura changes, and you start becoming a greater and more effective club executive committee, as well as a better club. I hope I answered that question, Hashini.
I think you answered it very effectively, DTM Makas, because you answered it from the perspective of sales and marketing perspective. And I think that's very effectively explained to us as to why it's so important and what the biggest challenge is. And when you said mindset, I was really, I didn't want to take it at once, but when you explained it, now I think I clearly understand as to why you said that, and I honestly agree with you. Now, these campaigns are definitely a tough nut to crack. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But whether you think of them as a necessary evil or look at them as your greatest challenge, membership marketing campaigns are absolutely critical for the continuity and the success of any organization. So now, when you think about what a club needs, in Toastmasters perspective, you think of what a club needs to start deciding on a membership campaign, there's a lot to consider. Now, I would like Toastmaster Hisham to emphasize a little on this.
Thank you, Harshini, for that interesting onstart to this question. I think a lot of clubs, if they look within themselves, or rather, I would like to put it this way, most clubs do not want to look within themselves before they start a membership campaign. So now everybody must be confused as to what I'm saying is that basically before your club prepares for growth in terms of members, it is imperative to first look within yourself and identify any opportunities for improvement in the overall club experience, because that is very important. Because if there is something not right happening within your club, guests are not going to stay or not going to come for that matter, and members are not going to stay. Members are going to start leaving if there is something wrong happening, right? So a club growth depends on several factors that we need to look at prior to beginning a membership campaign. So these are just 3 points that I want to highlight. Number one is having effective club meetings that are worthwhile for new as well as existing veteran members alike. This is very critical because what has happened is the more experienced clubs, the clubs that have been there for some time, have been just going on with normal continual flow, not looking within as to is there something that they need to improve? Is there something that needs to change in the way we are doing our club meetings to be effective in what we are doing? Number two is to continually promote Toastmasters throughout your community and organization. Again, what I said is most people keep looking at a membership campaign only when they need to attract those new members. Otherwise, throughout the year, it's just you keep having your educational meetings. You do not need to do anything for the rest of those 2 meetings in a month, and that's about it. For me personally, I live, breathe, and eat Toastmasters, as they put it, right? Because it is a constant case of basically promoting Toastmasters, promoting your club, and having a continuous influx, as I mentioned before, bringing new members in. And number 3 is to use proven marketing techniques to turn prospects into guests and guests into members. This goes in line with what Mafaz mentioned earlier as well, to ensure that your club is doing something right, to make sure that your prospects are also coming in and your prospects are becoming eventual guests and guests into members. That is absolutely critical. So if there is something wrong happening within the club, pinpoint it quickly as an EXCO, as leaders of our clubs. We need to look at it and rectify those immediately. Now, clubs that maintain absolutely high standards of excellence in their program, operations, and management, member participation, as well as community activities, if it is a community club per se, are more likely to attract and retain members throughout. To experience sustained growth, a club needs to be worth belonging to. Now, personally, I have visited a lot of clubs. I am also part of many clubs as well. Is sometimes when we look at it, we question ourselves and say, Is it worthwhile belonging to this club? Are we getting the opportunities to improve our communication and leadership and other opportunities? If it is not, you start questioning yourself and you start backing out. You don't start turning up for meetings. You start going and start moving to other clubs, right? So that is the danger there. So now coming to my main part of the question is, when do we start, right? So best is plan to have a special kickoff event or meeting to begin your campaign. So this meeting can be part of your normal educational meeting, and it should be planned to motivate the members to go out and get things done. Now, the stress or the burden shouldn't lie only on the vice president membership or only on the 7 members of the EXCO, but rather every Toastmaster in that club should see themselves as brand ambassadors of their club. This is very important because something that I've always discussed with everyone is that even when we visit a club, we have to carry that essence that we are Toastmasters. We are of a certain standard, right? And that, because when people see you, they start questioning you. Okay, this guy is a Toastmaster. This guy has some standard to the way he's talking. So that automatically gives a good impression. They ask you which club you're from, and trust me, those people are going to want to join your club at some point of time. A great boost at the start of your membership building campaign is very important to maintain the momentum. But to maintain this momentum, you must look at how you're programming the entire campaign, which is very critical. So it is one thing to attract a number of guests to a meeting. It is an absolutely another story to inspire them to repeatedly return and enjoy a club meeting. Because if they come once and they have a bad experience, trust me, they're not going to come again. They're not even going to answer your WhatsApp messages or calls. So be very careful how you do it. So therefore, to bring guests to your club, you need to allow sufficient lead time. Otherwise, you will not be able to capitalize on getting new members to join your club. So closer up to a membership campaign, don't quickly start running around and think that you could get your members. You may, but be careful, because if you're not doing something right at your club, they will come, they'll experience it, and they'll swear their lives that they'll never walk into a Toastmasters club ever again. So be a little watchful on that, because you need to set the right impression when you're attracting prospects to your club. Over to you, Ashni.
Thank you, Toastmaster Isham, for those words of wisdom, because I think you showed us a side that we rarely see. You need to allow sufficient lead time, otherwise we'll not be able to really get the full output that we're expecting after putting in so much of effort sometimes. So now, on the same note, I would like to know from distinguished Toastmaster Mafas for the role of the EXCOE in terms of membership campaigns. Who should be responsible and involved in these membership campaigns?
Thanks, Hashini. You're giving me quite a few tough questions to answer. Well, to be honest, I think that question, while on the face of it, looks very straightforward, and I can say it's a VP membership, VP PR, and the president. It's actually a very much more deeper question, and there's a lot of levels to this answer. So I think when it comes to some clubs, the goal of membership is what we really need to understand. I think I've spoken about it earlier as well. If the goal of your membership campaign is simply to win the ribbons, win the DCP points, get the points for Golden Gavel or something else, then the responsibilities lie with different people, and it can, it doesn't need to become a big affair for the entire EXCO to get involved in. But if your goal is to bring new people who genuinely want to become better speakers, who genuinely want to develop themselves, and in that spirit help each other and all the members in the club develop, that makes a big difference, right? So if I was to basically put this in a simple context, right, just from a real world context, imagine if you go to a clothing store and you're buying clothes for yourself and you're browsing around, and you have a sales guy who's following you around, aisle after aisle, just checking you, watching you, waiting for you to make that purchase. You know that person is only, they just see a commission. They don't see a person, right? Versus if you go to a shop and you have a sales assistant who comes and talks to you and is like, what kind of clothes what are you buying for? What kind of colors do you like? What kind of fit do you like? Which salesperson is going to be able to make you want to come back to the shop, come back, stay with you? So similarly, when it comes to new members as well, if it is just, if our purpose is only to just add a few numbers to the roster, then we can, one or two people can take care of it. But if the club EXCO and the club makes it a mission, this year we are going to bring in an additional 10 or 20 people that we want to help through this Toastmasters program. Everybody in the club is responsible. Then what happens is everybody works to make that great first impression, to have effective meetings, to run it professionally, to have respect for each other's time, as well as have integrity in everything that we do. So for me, I would say the responsibility of a membership campaign lies in everyone's hands. It is the accountability of it will fall on the EXCO, and specifically the VP membership and the VP PR and the president. But if only the three of them do it, I guarantee you that the members that you get will last for maybe a couple of meetings or one term. They are not going to continue. They are not going to do speeches. They are not going to develop as leaders. And then eventually the club is going to have a higher churn, higher attrition, and every term it's going to be a fight to find enough members to maintain the club quality. So I hope I answered that question, Hashini.
You answered it very well, DTM Mapas. So, like you very clearly said, you don't get a second chance to make a good first impression, and all these points you mentioned are important. And I think it's very clear as to why the entire EXCO needs to be responsible to run an effective membership campaign. Now, my next question is to Toastmaster Hisham. Toastmaster Hisham, what do you perceive as the key point that somebody needs to keep in mind when developing a membership campaign? Because it's not something you can do overnight. There's a lot of planning that needs to go in. So what do you think or what do you perceive as the key points that somebody needs to keep in mind when developing, or rather the EXCO needs to keep in mind when developing a membership campaign?
Thank you, Harshni, for that very interesting question once again. I like the question that I put back to our leaders over here is that when you have your EXCO meetings, how many of these meetings actually constitute to having a planning for your membership campaign? What do you put into your driving for new members? Sadly, a lot of our EXCO meetings don't incorporate these. They're basically very much on the top, and there's not a lot of discussion that happens on it. So one thing I would like to stress right now is three main things that you need to keep in mind. The EXCO mainly, and then drill down to the rest of the members, is number one, timeline. Converting guests is an absolute process. It's not easy, cannot be done overnight, as we all three have mentioned at various points in time throughout this session, right? Because the guest needs to witness and be convinced about the club that they're joining. To a point that even guests may be window shopping different clubs to make an eventual decision as to which club do they want to join. Therefore, to bring club, just a simple example, right, that we're going through right now. So therefore, to bring guests to your club in September, you need to start at least 4 meetings ahead to allow for the lead time, which I mentioned to you earlier. So just to put it, how do the 4 meetings work? First meeting, they come as an observer. Second meeting, they may take up a role of a table topic speaker, or they may even want to do a smaller role like maybe the timer. Then at the third meeting, they may eventually sign up. And the fourth meeting, they attend as a member doing the icebreaker speech. So you see that it cannot happen overnight. The membership building campaign, as I've been saying throughout this session, is there's a lot of lead time that you need to give it. There's a lot of planning and preparation that needs to happen. And it basically comes about like that. So that is on timeline. Number 2 is purpose for joining. We need to remember that guests join meetings or join Toastmasters because they want to develop their speaking skills. Maybe 9 out of 10 people that I would have spoken to have said that they joined Toastmasters mainly because they want to improve their speaking skills. Leadership, networking, confidence building, socializing, you name it, are very much secondary. Therefore, a club should market in their campaigns this critical element, that you will be able to develop your communication and leadership. These 2 words not being there in one of your flyers is going to maybe be a bit of a flaw, because you need to tell people you will improve your communication. You will improve your speaking skills. And that is absolutely critical. I'm sure DTM Mafas throughout the rest of the session will share certain material that is available. And you will see, trust me, without a doubt, the words communication leadership will be constantly mentioned. That is the brilliance of the material that Toastmasters has provided us. Point number 3 is quality first impression and follow up. This is very critical, and this is something that even you, Hashini, very rightly mentioned earlier about having that first impression. You don't get a second chance to make that first impression. So clubs need to make a quality first impression and follow up. The quality first impression reflects in the small details, basically from that first, when they walk through that door to a Toastmasters meeting, be agenda changes to how the guests are made to be felt welcome. A club where I see a president and a VP Ed scrambling around and begging members to take up roles will not look a professional or a well organized club, sadly. Because they're going to start questioning, my God, they are unable to get their basic roles filled. And till the very last minute, when the Sergeant at Arms calls the meeting to order, the president and the VP Ed are scrambling around. So, in my personal opinion, it is best that the club presidents take the lead and keep the guests engaged till the meeting starts, while the Vice President Education and the Sergeant at Arms can do all the behind the scenes jugglings in the agenda, and best kept towards the back of the meeting while the guests are all sitting in front, ready for a fantastic meeting. As important as the first impression is the follow up, as I mentioned earlier. Sending a thank you note. Personally, I visited a lot of clubs as a guest, and very rarely have I received a thank you note. There are very few clubs in Sri Lanka that send you a thank you note for attending their club meeting, and additional reading material to the guests soon after the meeting. These little things make a big impact on a person to decide whether they're joining a club or not. However, sending a message 2 days prior to the next meeting is not going to be the best impression you're setting, because the guests are going to feel like this person only wants me to become a member and they care only about their members and they want their numbers in their meeting. So be careful what you're doing. Have a constant a timeline, a purpose for joining, and a quality first impression and follow up. Trust me, you're not going to have a problem in getting guests to your club. I hope I answered your question, Hashini.
I think you did, because those 3 aspects that you mentioned, timeline, and the purpose for creating a purpose for joining, and about the quality first and last impression. So I think they say a first impression lasts long, but definitely a follow up is only going to make it even better, right? It's going to make people feel that they are not being ignored. I'm sure Distinguished Toastmaster Mafas would also have some things to add here. So I would like to now direct the same question to DTM Mafas.
Thanks, Hashini. So I think Hisham actually covered most of what I would also say on this same question. Couple of things I would like to maybe bring out is, number one, yes, follow up is really, really important. That thank you note the next day makes a huge difference. But similarly, how do you invite a guest? We often just go up to somebody, Machan, come, there's a meeting going on. 90% of the time, some keynotes, area director, division director, or somebody is coming, guys, come, let's fill in the room. We need people, just sit and wait. You don't need to talk, don't need to do anything. This is how our membership campaigns work, right? Now, the reality is just a small thing. If you give, you have someone you want to invite for your club meeting, if you go and send them an official invitation, right, on a Toastmasters document, Toastmasters template, and say, please come and join our meeting, it carries a lot more weight. It shows a professionalism and a certain level of finesse that will really help the club feel like it's something bigger than just some little organization that meets twice a month, right? Also, I think one of the key things, I think we probably will talk about this later on as well, is how do we market our clubs? Very often we market our clubs, not Toastmasters. Hisham very rightly said, we have to talk about communication, leadership development, skills building, self-confidence building. I have a famous story of from my personal experience, where I was looking for something to do on a Thursday, and I came across an event on Facebook that said, discover your brand mission. And I was about to sign in. And this was a Thursday that was for once free of Toastmasters. So I wanted to go to something that was not Toastmasters. But just as I was signing in, I realized that this was also a Toastmasters meeting. So our membership campaigns are almost like false advertising. We show one thing, we get the people in, and then we put a Toastmasters meeting. Yes, I know there are stories of members who have come for one thing, accidentally come into a Toastmasters meeting, joined the club, went on to become presidents of the club, but that's probably 1% of the audience. Do we market to 1%? Do we want to duplicate that 1% or duplicate the 99%? So for me, I think, when we market ourselves, we have to always remember people join Toastmasters to develop as speakers, as communicators, to build up their confidence. So we need to first market that. First market what Toastmasters does, and then at the meeting, market the meeting club. Market your club through a professionally run meeting, through effective evaluations, through well-prepared speeches, and that will make an impression that cannot be broken. So I would say those are my key points, Hashini. I would like to add to what Hisham said, which was already a very comprehensive answer.
Thank you very much, DTM Mafas. I think you added more color to what Toastmaster Hisham said. Thank you for your input. Now, Michael Porter has said that the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. And I think we all know that it's taught to us that a vision without a strategy only remains an illusion, nothing but an illusion. So now I think it's time for us to go into the nitty gritty. So let's discuss a little on the strategy that hubs can use to attract guests. And I would like to invite DTM Mafas to discuss this from the perspective of community clubs. Over to you.
Thank you, Hashini. To be honest, I would say these are more likely can be called tactics rather than strategies, because these are more about execution. Now, community clubs are a very different animal, very different species, and they have their own challenges and they have their own benefits as well. And some people argue that community clubs have a higher success rate at membership campaigns than corporate clubs, but there are community clubs can always continue developing, right? So when it comes to community clubs, what can we do to get the word about Toastmasters, about the club out there? So I think some of the things that what we do is we just put out one flyer on Facebook. We say there's an event happening this day, and then we kind of forgot about it. Right? But what we can do is really go out of our comfort zones. You can print out some Toastmasters material, flyers that are freely available, freely downloadable, and we can print them in Sri Lanka itself. Print those and go and leave them around. You can leave them at coffee shops, you can leave them at different venues, and if you're having a meeting in a particular location, you can see whether you can put it up on their notice board, leave it at a supermarket, just anywhere that people around or who are related to your your club, their geographical location where they can see it and they will learn about it. Yes, it may feel like you're knocking on 1,000 doors to open one, but that is what it has to be. So number one is, I would say, is look at putting out flyers in different locations, leaving it around, leaving it so that people can see and people can hear about your club. Second is, I would say, one very effective campaign is put a Facebook event. Make sure that you put a Facebook event and put it well in advance, because we don't know when people are going to plan their schedules. And look at different event aggregators. So you have things like Eventbrite, Event Host. You can find these sites and get your event also published there. It may not always, the audience may not all be there, but one or two people might see it, and those may be the people who come and join. Facebook events are really, really effective in my opinion. Third, get your members to share flyers. Share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is really one of the powerful platform that we don't utilize to the greatest advantage. And also look at press articles. I know, in marketing right now, traditional media is considered to be the great grandfather of marketing, but it is still a very applicable platform. when people see your name, when they Google Toastmasters Club and your article comes up, it gives a lot of credibility. It brings in, and you don't need to only have an article going out when you have your club installation, but you can even put an article out if one of your members have achieved something really significant, or if you all achieve something as a club that has not been, something that is really noteworthy. So build that relationship with the media, right? It might just involve inviting them for an installation and just starting a rapport, but getting that contact number is so powerful. And I would also say that try to organize events where visitors can join and visit and watch some Toastmaster conduct a flawless, epic event that makes them think, wow, this is what World Championship speakers sound like. I think all of us remember, most of us who were around when Dhananjaya won the World Championship of Public Speaking. Every club in Sri Lanka benefited because suddenly everybody wanted to join Toastmasters. And that is the kind of fuel we need to add to our clubs. And finally, I would suggest go to corporates that are around your organization. Not all corporates can afford to have a Toastmasters club, or nor are they big enough to have a Toastmasters club. So just walk into them and talk to the receptionist. If you can get to the head of HR, talk to the head of HR. Leave a few flyers there, and they will definitely pass them around, or they'll even leave them in the guard room. That will just get people noticing, and they'll just come and want to learn a bit more, and they'll contact you. So again, I think if we sat down and really brainstormed how we can take the word of Toastmasters to the world, we can probably find n number of ideas. But these are just a few that I can think that are applicable to a larger variety of clubs in Sri Lanka. But definitely take one executive council meeting. Don't have anything else on the agenda. Just sit down and go crazy with ideas on how you can market Toastmasters, how you can market your club, and then I'm sure some of those crazy ideas can be the golden ticket that brings all those guests into your meeting. Back to you, Hashini.
Thank you, DTM Mafaz. I think that was again a whole list of strategies, starting from how you do Facebook events to how you can do a press release, although we consider it to be very traditional. You showed us the other side of it and how it can work to our advantage. So thank you very much for that input. I would like Toastmaster Hisham to now focus on the corporate side of things. How would you explain the strategies in terms of the perspective of a corporate club?
Thank you, Hashni. Thank you, Hashni. While Mafaz was touching base on a lot of the strategies, I was kind of running out as to what am I going to say. And then, we had to put our thinking caps on because it's a different ball game when it comes to a corporate club. The strategies that you apply there is completely novel, unique to each organization. But I'm just going to share something that has worked in my experience because I've been part of corporate clubs as well as community clubs more so. And there are some strategies that have worked successfully to get the buy-in of the management and so on and so forth. So let me just quickly jot down a few. We can start off by saying a few strategies that we can basically attract guests is by sending an all-staff email on member achievements periodically. Now, why do I say periodically? Please don't go jamming your email networks with the agenda to the meeting minutes, but do it periodically with somebody that has achieved something. Now, when we talk of achievements, invariably we keep thinking and saying that it has to be only a Toastmasters achievement. Not necessarily. Maybe somebody in your membership could have graduated or may have achieved something outside the company. Achievements of this sort, and they are members of your club, recognize them through an all-staff email. While saying that, when members complete levels or parts, recognize the individual. This again, I'm seeing a lot of corporates are missing out. They do not recognize the individual. They consider, okay, this is a done deal, so we don't need to recognize. Let's just move on with the next person who's going to achieve it. Recognize the individual. Recognize their supervisor or their manager or their team. It's very important. It makes you feel inclusive. It makes you feel you're part of a greater movement, and send this achievement recognition to HR or the CEO. Trust me, when it's sent to the CEO or the HR, In between, there are a lot of people that are getting acknowledged. They may be CC'd on these emails, and they're going to be like, wow, this organization is really bringing out a good set of leaders. We should value these people. And automatically, you are going to gain some guests because they're going to see that, okay, for a simple thing, you may have done your icebreaker and you're recognized. I mean, that goes a long way. I mean, I had it once and I was over the moon when I had calls coming from various branches of officers calling and congratulating me. That goes a long way. Another interesting thing that I've seen happening at a lot of corporate clubs now is to include a session on Toastmasters in the new employee orientation program in partnership with HR. It's very important to do it at the orientation itself because these are a lot of people new to the company. They've already got a perspective of the organization, and an organization, I believe, becomes holistic when you have a Toastmasters program within. Another strategy that could be applied, it may not work most of the time, but you could try it out and see, is get a list of all employees with maybe a special focus on new recruits from your HR. Split the list among your EXCO members, phone them, email them, and invite them to an upcoming meeting. These things do work because sometimes, like they say, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, So while doing all work, you want something to, have a diversion. Toastmasters is a good diversion for you. Put up notices of the upcoming meetings in the break room, elevators, etc. Because that 1 hour lunch break that you get, you don't want to see work anymore. You want to see something different. So when you see something like this, a colorful flyer that we have in Toastmasters, people are automatically going to be attracted to it. They're going to be like, oh, what's this flyer all about? Read up about it, and maybe they will eventually turn up for a meeting. Another novel technique that I've seen happening when I was overseas at a corporate club is they constantly invite guest speakers who are industry experts. And when they come, publicize this event, make a special flyer, just recognizing that individual. And what works best when something like this is happening is if your company has an elevator, on the mirror, not anywhere else, on the mirror, slap bang on the center, paste it, and trust me, people are going to walk in. You could also host a talk show. Now, this talk show is basically it's a project in Pathways. Also, have been recently informed. Panelists could be from your middle management. Now, we have experienced, those who've been in the corporate, even in our audience today, can say that you have the bind at the top, you have the bind at the bottom, but the bind between is where there's a problem, the middle management. So what you could do is host a talk show, invite some of these middle management individuals, especially the individuals who are hard to crack into Toastmasters. Bring them on the panel. And when they see how the session is conducted, they're going to change their perception. Trust me, it has worked. I've seen it happening. And it is a beautiful opportunity for a corporate club to implement. Finally, I just want to touch on one small thing, which again, a lot of corporate clubs and sometimes the more advanced clubs also are missing out. So this is keeping the HR department aware of what the club is doing. Do not forget, for a corporate club, your biggest support system is the HR department. And they themselves could help you promote the club to other employees. Because employees are going to walk to an HR department and say, hey, Cham, I want something different. I want to improve either my communication or leadership or something else. And they may direct those people to your Toastmasters club. So keep them aware. Now, how could you do this? We recommend after every meeting to get the secretary to write at least a half a page of an A4, an update of the recently concluded meeting. This was shared even by our district director, DTM Nurul Munawara, at our district officer training program, that this is something that we need to do. What else is our secretaries doing? I mean, you are having an EXCO position. There are some clubs that I've seen that a secretary doesn't even take down minutes of what's happening in a meeting. So let's give them a little bit of work. Not a detailed explanation, but just maybe 5-6 lines of what's happening. And to support this, the Vice President Public Relations could help by providing a few pictures from the meeting and attach that as the latter half of that A4 document and send it to HR department. And maybe with their blessings, you could also get the approval to send it as an all-staff email. So people are attracted to imagery. This is something that a lot of us, that's why I said at the beginning, millennials are your target audience and millennials love pictures. So put it there in pictures and trust me, seeing is believing. Guests are going to be encouraged to visit your club the next time around. So I think this is a simple tactic that could be, if implemented, can work wonders. Hashni, I hope I've answered it from the corporate perspective.
Certainly have. So thank you very much, Toastmaster Hisham. I think just like DTM Mafas did, you emphasized on a 360 pitch. You've shown us the 360 view of how we can really make that experience memorable. So these strategies undoubtedly will help all of us to attract new members. And I think, having said this, it's important for us to also focus lately on the best practices that we can adapt now. All these ideas were definitely wow. And of course, yes, if implemented, definitely would help us to turn around, uh, our clubs for the better. So, can we emphasize a little on the strategy that our clubs can use to attract it? Can I just throw this question to Toastmaster Mapas to emphasize on how this could be practiced in terms of what best practices could be practiced at our club meeting in terms of community club. DTM Mapas, over to you.
Thanks, Hashni. So if I understand your question correctly, I think you want to talk about how do we convert the people that we are bringing in through all these promotional tactics into becoming members, right?
The best practices that we can follow.
Okay, brilliant. So I think it's difficult to give a one-size-fits-all answer to this, but I'm going to share with you one experience that I had. So when I was area director, I got the opportunity to start a new club, and this was a club that I wanted to start for the startup community. So we set up a club called Startup Colombo Toastmasters, and we had our challenges. That club took us 9 months to put together. I always say it was like giving birth to a baby, but we had to go through a lot of pain to get that club together. And some of the fundamental mistakes that we made were how did we manage our guests? So for a long time, we saw a lot of people coming for meetings. They come, they sit, they eat, they participate, but we weren't able to get them converted. And that is when I started, with the advice of all the mentors and the sponsors of that club, we came up with a simple sales funnel or a simple guest conversion funnel. So the way we did it was we basically put together a step-by-step process. So I think some of you might have heard this comparison where we say Toastmasters to some members is like a gym membership. You just want to get the membership because you made a resolution saying, I am going to join a gym. So you join the gym. You never said you're going to go to the gym and exercise. That wasn't your resolution. Your resolution was, I'm going to join a gym. So similarly, I think a lot of people make this resolution, I'm going to join Toastmasters. So it's our job to get them from I'm going to join Toastmasters to I'm going to be a Toastmaster. Now, one way that I used to do this with Startup Colombo when we were setting up the club was we always put out a Facebook event at least 2 weeks before the meeting. We had it up. We had a contact number to call. We had an email address. We had clear instructions about how to register for the event. And as people joined, at least a week or 3 or 4 days ahead of the meeting, we would send them an email inviting them for the meeting. Our only goal there was to get people in the door. So even if somebody called me and asked me, what is this event about? What is Toastmasters about? All I would say is it's an international program about building your communication and your leadership skills. Come for the meeting. We never talked about the fees. We never talked about how you can join. We just come for the meeting. It's a free event. So the only goal of that was get them in the door. And so that was our first stage. So anyone who calls me, that's the first stage. And I got their number down. I added it to an Excel sheet as a prospect. Then the second step is getting them to come for the meeting. We send them messages, we send them an email, and we make sure that they walk in the door. That is our first commitment. You get them to make that commitment. I'm coming for a Toastmasters meeting, and they attend. Check number 1 achieved. Next is we have to get them to make a smaller commitment to developing themselves. So at the meeting, I never talked to them about, I told all the senior members who were there, don't tell them about the $90. Just tell them to watch the meeting. We'll talk about it at the end. And at the end of the meeting, I would sit them down, I would explain what Toastmasters is, the $90 fee, the membership fee, all of that. And then I would give them the membership form and I would say, fill in your details, but don't sign it. And we would ask them to come back for the next meeting, and only at the next meeting, if they feel that they want to be part of the club, they can sign and become a member. So again, we have made them make a small emotional connection or emotional commitment to becoming a Toastmaster. The third step in the funnel was we sent the next day, I would send all of them an SMS thanking them for coming for the meeting. And in that SMS, I would have a link to join our guest WhatsApp group. And as people joined, I would track who has joined the group and I would mark on the Excel sheet, this person has joined. So what we see then is now the guests who came for the meeting become a smaller group, but these are people who genuinely want to become Toastmasters. And then at that, and the others, I keep them on the list for 2 or 3 meetings and then I remove them if they don't participate. Now I know that I have a qualified list of guests who may become Toastmasters. And then at the next meeting, we get them to do an icebreaker or a table topic or play a small role so that they come on stage and they feel the nervousness, they feel the butterflies in the stomach, and they realize that this is something that they need to overcome. And with that, on the second meeting, I tell them, if you feel this is right for you, here's the membership fee amount, here's the bank details, transfer the money, put your signature, and we will get your account, your profile created with Toastmasters. Again, we had a few members who would keep coming. They were very enthusiastic, but they simply weren't paying. So again, we put a small fail-safe. We told them, you can come for any 2 meetings free of charge. But if you're still not made up your mind, you can continue coming, but you need to cover the cost of refreshments. So we charge a nominal fee from those members simply to cover the cost of the refreshments. And then the fact of the matter is we still have never collected that money from the members or the guests. At the third meeting, most of them are convinced and they decide to join, or they know that this is not the right platform for them and they don't come. So we know we have members who are quality members. And I'm proud to say that startup, most of the members who are there around the second year, they are still, a lot of the charter members are still with the club. So these are a few things that I found very effective when working with new clubs and community clubs, which I hope, and I'm sure that we can find a similar model that can be used for the corporate clubs as well. So back to you, Harshini.
Thank you, DTM Mafaz. Without further ado, I would like to direct the same question to Toastmaster Hisham to emphasize on how things would work if it was a corporate club, best practices.
Thank you, Harshni, and thank you, DTM Mafaz. I think most of what was mentioned could be adapted for corporate clubs as well. However, there are little things in the whole concept of what Mafaz shared may not be very convenient to do for a corporate club per se. For example, charging a fee for refreshments from the third meeting onwards may seem a little bit difficult because invariably those are sponsored by the HR department or within the members itself. So that we need to be a little careful about going overboard, because sometimes if the HR department finds out that you're doing things like this, the club could get shut down. So be a little careful about the strategies that you are adopting. So most of the corporate Toastmasters clubs invariably are within the same head office or one big building of so many different departments, so on and so forth. So what I would advise is to constantly approach them physically. Make some time out of your, maybe you go to a washroom break a few minutes and go to their desks, or even at the break rooms while having lunch, approach a few of them and talk about Toastmasters. Or even what you could do is from your desk, you could even pick up the phone and call them over the intercom lines and email them until they eventually sign up. The key here is to never give up. I mean, once you've spotted a person, even if they've come as a guest once, keep going to them, keep talking to them. And not that I'm saying while doing this that you hold them by the neck and say you have to join the club. That's not what I'm trying to say. But keep motivating them to see something within themselves that they may not be seeing otherwise. I've oftentimes seen community as well as corporate clubs maintain 2 WhatsApp groups, something similar to what even Mafaz was sharing earlier. one where you have with the members only, with the rest of the EXCO, and one with the EXCO and the guests, so that the guests constantly keep getting regular updates about the meeting. They're motivated and they may eventually start turning up for the remaining meetings. They may not come from one meeting to the other, but they may come for one, skip one, then maybe come again based on their time and their availability. But here too, I like to stress that there are things at the beginning that you need to look at. If your club is doing it right, your guests are automatically going to come, even in terms of a corporate club. So, Hashini, I think most of what Mafaz said is there, but I would like to just touch base on this of what I said is you need to keep constantly talking to them and doing certain strategies that I mentioned before, and definitely those best practices will work for a corporate club. Over to you, Hashini.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Hisham. So this is a kind reminder. If anybody has any questions with regard to what is being discussed right now, with regard to we are not emphasizing on any areas that you want covered, please feel free to drop the question in the Q&A section of the Zoom chat. So having said that, let's move on to our next question. Now, this next question was one question that came in through the Q&A chat as well. I'll direct this question to distinguished Toastmaster Mafaz. Mafaz, how do you think we can manage to convince guests to join when they attend online meetings? What measures can be adopted in this regard? Because this is something fairly new to our clubs. It's only recent after the COVID-19 pandemic that we shifted our focus to having online meetings. What is your view in this regard, and what measures do you think we can adopt to get members through online meetings?
Thanks, Hashini. So this is a very interesting question, and I think it's become a common question to deal with recently, even as a district PR manager. Now, personally, I think we are overthinking it. We make this argument, we say people don't want to come for physical meetings, they only want to have online meetings, and we can't get them to come back for physical meetings. We make all these arguments because of various reasons. But I think if we really ask ourselves, number one, who are the guests who are coming? If they are coming just to socialize, to network, to do something, they may say, yes, we don't want to travel to Colombo, or we don't want to travel somewhere else. We want to do it from the comfort of our own home. But those are the wrong type of guests that we have attracted. Now, I think sometimes with clubs, we make this mistake that we think because we are on a Zoom session, everybody is home, it's okay to drag the meetings. It's okay to start a little late. It's okay to go on a little longer because nobody has to travel home. But what that shows is an unprofessional meeting environment, a meeting experience. Now, imagine as a guest, if you have come to a Zoom meeting and that finishes half an hour late, for whatever reason, might be totally legitimate and the meeting might have been awesome, but you finished half an hour late. What they're going to ask themselves is, if I travel to a certain location for the meeting and they finish late, it's going to be an inconvenience for me to get home. So it becomes very challenging for people to justify to have to travel and then make their way home after a physical meeting. So first of all, I think as clubs, we need to make sure that we have very professionally run on-time meetings, and we make sure that everything is done to the agenda and as much as possible stick to time. Once we do that, I'm sure the confidence the guests will have in the club, in the executive council, in the meeting will not hamper them wanting to join physical meetings. Second is, how do we market? How do we convince them? Those days we could sit with them, we could look at their faces, see whether they understand, don't understand, and market and explain what Toastmasters is all about. Now we don't have that luxury sometimes. So very often what I have seen in a handful of online meetings that I have joined in other clubs, all the time, the first thing that is cut because we're running late is the guest orientation. What I would say is make sure that you allocate time in the agenda, 5 minutes, to move all the guests into a breakout room. Have your VP membership talk to them, explain what exactly Toastmasters is, explain how to join the club, how the Pathways program, what the Pathways program is, and then and explain the membership fees and all that. Very often we say we will take it tomorrow, we'll call you tomorrow morning. That is not the time. You have to hit strike while the iron is hot. So try to make sure that you are talking to the member, the guest, when they are at your meeting. Don't let them go away without knowing what Toastmasters is all about. So for me, I think with regards to this question of how do we convince people to come from online to offline, is you need to first build their trust. You need to show them that you respect their time, you respect that you understand it is an inconvenience for some of them, but that it's going to be value for money. And very often, I think one thing we take for granted is we think just because they're seeing something online, they may not realize how much better offline is. So give them a reason to come for offline meetings. Say that we're getting somebody to come and do a keynote. Organize a speech marathon. Give them a reason to get out of their pajamas and walk to your meeting. Right? That is how you can convince them that to be a part of a physical meeting as well. Trust me, I don't. I think now Toastmasters in Sri Lanka has been around for 30 years. We have got people to come for meetings, to travel long distances to attend meetings. I'm sure we can convince them to switch off, to get outside their camera or their laptop and make the trip for a club meeting. So I definitely, I think this is a doable thing, but as a club, we need to plan for it. It can't be ad hoc. We have to plan and we have to execute to the T. I hope that's clear, Harshini.
Thank you, Aditi and Wafat. Now, on the same note, how do you think clubs can stand out and attract members when the brand guidelines do not really impress its uniqueness? I hope I didn't offend you with this question.
I think this is a gotcha question, no, Harshini? I'm sure one of the VP PRs are the ones who sent this question in. See, guys, I think we need to understand the brand guidelines have been created for the benefit of all the clubs, right? The Toastmasters wants to create one global identity so that when people think confidence building, when people think public speaking, when people think about leadership, the first thing that should come to their mind is Toastmasters. That is what Toastmasters branding is all about. We shouldn't be fighting it, we should be embracing it. And the more we can bring people, the more we can help spread that message, the easier it is going to become to bring members into our clubs. So I think one of the things that we need to remember is people don't join Toastmasters because of the themed meetings that we have, because of refreshments that we give, because of the friends that, the camaraderie or the chit chats that happen before and after the meeting, right? Sure, it does play a factor, but people first join and they stay because of the development that they want to achieve. So let's first market that. Right? That is what Toastmasters wants. That's what the branding is all about. It's about making sure that we are marketing the correct thing to the members. Get them to your club. At the club, your culture, your community, your commitment to members will win their hearts. Right? So branding, yes, I know it is a challenge, but don't look at it as I am competing for members with Club A, Club B, and Club C. We are all trying to bring people to the Toastmasters community. When I was a VP membership, I remember if somebody says, I want to join your club, but I can't come on the meeting day, I would reach out to the area director or the division director and say, I have a member who wants to join a club. Can you find a club? He or she is available on Tuesdays. Can you tell me what club is free on Tuesdays or meets on Tuesdays? And I know that there are members who have joined because of that. And once we get the people into the club, I think one of the most underappreciated and underutilized tools that we have in a club is our newsletter. We create newsletters. Why? Because we want to get points for the Golden Gavel. We want to get points for the PR awards. No, don't create the newsletter for that reason. Just think of your newsletter as a 6-month summary. If you create your newsletter in every 6 months, you have in 2 or 3 pages a complete history of everything the club has done, the awards that you all have won, the meetings that you all have had, the events that you all have organized, the themed meetings, the achievements of the members. Give it to the guest. I know the last year's district PR was telling me that some clubs have 80-page newsletters. No, have a 3 or 4-page document. If you can keep it to 1 or 2 pages, even better, right? But give it to the guest. When they read that, they will understand, yes, this is the kind of club that I want to be a part of, right? So this is how, and just to touch on a corporate, we think sometimes, I think we forget that in corporate clubs, just because the guest is the guy who sat or the girl who sat next to us, we don't need to market to them. When they walk into a Toastmasters meeting, they stop being a colleague, they become a potential Toastmaster. So you need to behave in the same way. You have to win their hearts, right? That is how you get the people. So don't look at the branding as holding the club back. Look at the branding as what is propelling the club forward, and use that to bring more people to your clubs. So Harshini, I hope whoever sent you that question, I have answered it. And please, branding, don't think of it as the evil villain in Toastmasters, and that I'm its minion. Back to you, Harshini.
We can also say that it's a necessary evil, right? To very clearly explain. Thank you very much. I think
if I may, if I may add one small aspect to what Mafaz also just recently said, is I have since I go around to a lot of the other clubs and I speak to people and of the EXCO and all, is even these brand guidelines that are there, they start getting overwhelmed by it. This is something that I want to tell the entire audience here, to even pass it down to the rest of your EXCO who is not here. Every aspect of what we have been sharing in this membership forum, to not process it in your mind as something that is intensive. It's something hard to do. But actually, Toastmasters has made life a lot easy for a lot of us. I mean, to the point of there is, Mafaz can correct me if I'm wrong, to even pre-prepared flyers. All you need to do is just key in the date, time, and the venue. Simple as that. All you need to do is key in those, put it to print, paste it up on a wall. The more you go to overwhelm yourself with, how am I going to do this? Do I need to like get a, to some extent, there are some clubs that I feel they may even be like going to the extent of an agency of the way they try to do their campaign. That's not what we're saying. Like Mafaz said, dedicate one of your EXCO meetings to just plan your membership campaign with the guidelines. Throw out your ideas out there. Whether it be even in a corporate or a community club, you'll find one person that has some unique creative skill. Even if that person is not in the EXCO but in the membership, bring them for a meeting, get them involved, and trust me, it's going to be a smooth sail. The problem with the most of us is we start getting overwhelmed. Okay, we have an already existing job or studies or whatever. Why do we need to dedicate so much of time into this whole thing? That is where I want to change the perception of our Toastmaster and say, enjoy the movement. While you are enjoying it, do this little bit of these adjustments around, and it is going to be an absolutely amazing journey. Sorry, Hashni, just I wanted to lay that out with the audience. Back to you.
Thank you for sharing your insights. Plus, you had icing on top of the cake. Thank you, Toastmaster Hisham. DTM Mafaz, this would be our last question, or rather my last question to you before we move on to the questions that have been sent to us in the Q&A session. Q&A is the Q&A option of the webinar. DTM Mafaz, could you also mention the resources that are available to facilitate what we spoke about earlier? Because the brand guidelines are playing a very crucial role. If you could just emphasize on the resources that are available to facilitate this and ensure that we are not going against the brand guidelines?
Sure, Harshini.
And also, I think I would like you to also mention on the resources that are available, because you mentioned previously about the flyers that are freely available on the website and things like that. If you could just give us a hint about it.
Sure. Thank you. To be honest, even I was kind of pleasantly surprised when I realized how much resources are available on the TI website. And in fact, the PR team has gone an extra length. We have collected all that information, and most of it has been put on the D82 website. So if you go into the D82 website, Club Tools and Club Growth, you have the recordings, the latest recording of the membership forum, and just below that you have a whole lot of different material, to the point where Toastmasters even gives you a template on how to reply to a guest inquiry, right? So if you go and check this, you will see that there are flyers, there are banners, there are marketing material. Now you may argue saying all of those are foreigners. We don't want to show foreigners in our club. I think this is an overestimation. We see so many websites that have foreigners in their pictures, people who barely look brown, but we still buy their products. We don't doubt them, right? So I think Toastmasters brand is strong enough to survive having a little bit of foreign white skin in a flyer that we put out. So definitely go and check out the D82 website. There is a lot of material that we have compiled and combined and placed on the website, which I think if you use those, number one, you have free resources, and number two, you will get ideas on what you can use. And also what I would say is, don't take that material as is and just publish it on social media. For example, there is a document called the membership, the Toastmasters benefits, values, and principles, if I'm not mistaken, which is a table with all the core features of Toastmasters. Take each of those and create a flyer for that. Market what Toastmasters is, and on that flyer, just say, join so and so Toastmasters club, contact this person. Simple thing. And that one word, if you have that one word that person is looking for, if somebody had just finished an interview and is feeling very down about how the interview happened, and this is the flyer that says, build your self-confidence, join so and so Toastmasters, they are going to give a call. If somebody has just missed a promotion, they will give that call if you have the right thing. If they need to do a presentation next week and they are feeling nervous, and you have a flyer that says, build your presentation skills and build your confidence levels and become a better communicator, one of those flyers will get a call for your club. So it's up to us, let's don't put all the effort inside coming up with the most creative themed flyer, right? True, themed flyers are good, they're interesting, but that is not why people join Toastmasters. So definitely resources, there are plenty, right? It's just up to us to go. We have done part of the job and brought it onto one website. So we've saved you a couple of minutes of your life. Hopefully you can go into the website, check out those materials, and hopefully you can use some of that to market your club. Yeah, back to you, Hashini.
Thank you, DTM Mafas, for sharing those insights with us. So that brings us to the end of the August edition of our membership forum, Effective Membership Campaign. So big thank you out to all our panelists, DTM Mafas, TM Hisham, and DTM Nisal, who joined our session today. Thank you very much for helping make this session a success. So Frank Herbert says there is no real ending. It's just a place where you stop the story. So it's now time for us to stop our story, and we sincerely hope that today's session benefited all of you, and we really look forward to seeing you at our next forum. So good evening, everyone.